So, I decided to finally do all the videos that you have been waiting for because I have been saying that I was going to do them, but then not doing them. Today's book opinion is going to be Leigh Bardugo's Shadow and Bone. So this is the first book in the Grisha trilogy. For all of you unfamiliar with this particular book, this follows the story of Grisha. Now Grisha in this world are people who have magical ability. They don't call it magic, they call it like small science, but point is they have abilities that most people don't have. There are sections and categories for Grishas. They're all explained in the first few pages, and those are usually what people fall under. However, there are certain few that fall outside of those categories. It's kind of, in a sense, like Avatar, The Last Airbender, where there are 4 main elements you can control, but there's sort of side things that you can do, like metal and sand. That's kind of what you see here, where there are set categories for what you're supposed to be able to do, but you'll notice 1 or 2 characters kind of fall out of that. We follow a girl named Elena, and she comes from a country that has Russian-esque features, and they are currently in war. Not in the traditional sense of war, of course there are other countries that they kind of get in skirmishes in, but they are with war with a place called the Unsea. And this is basically a desert land full of monsters, and it cuts them off from the sea, which of course they need to get imports, to get fish, all of that sort of stuff. So they are in a war-torn society, even though they're not technically in war. Later, there becomes a civil war and all of that sort of stuff. So we follow the character Elena and her adventure, and she finds out that she is actually a Grisha, and a pretty powerful one. She does not fall into those traditional categories. One thing that I really did love about this book was Elena. Now, while I didn't personally like her, I did like her in the sense that I liked some of what her message was. So Elena is told that she has this magical ability, or at least this Grisha ability, and she doesn't know how to take it. She doesn't really accept it as a part of herself. And it is explained that Grishas who don't accept their Grisha power kind of rot away. So that explains why Elena has always been super thin and skeletal and pretty unhealthy looking and all of that. Like she's on the edge of death. And it's because she has always denied her power. Now, even though she knows that she has the power, she still is hesitant to use it. And I like that concept where it just shows that you can't deny yourself a part of yourself just to fit in with everyone else. Because although Grisha are common enough to be known that they exist, they are also very rare. So she is a minority, even more so with her special abilities. So I like the idea that you cannot deny yourself that part of yourself, no matter whether or not it makes you more unique than the rest of society. You can't deny it, because denying that part of yourself only leads to your body degrading. I thought that was a really cool concept. I'm a firm believer, always be yourself no matter what. I don't think we should try to hide behind what is considered norms. As you could probably tell by the way that I appear, I think everyone should be comfortable in their own skin, or at least be working towards that. So this idea that not working towards being comfortable, not accepting these pieces of yourself, whether or not they could be dangerous, is hurtful to yourself and can actually be more unhealthy than denying yourself this thing. Of course, there are like tricks and stuff, and this is a pretty broad idea, and I've generalized it a lot, but you probably get where I'm going, what I'm going for. That's the idea that you can't stop yourself from being your true self. That's all you're doing is hurting yourself by doing that. Now, it of course tells you the bad side to this. You have Elena, but then you also have the Darkling, and the Darkling reminds me a lot of Tom Riddle and the way that their minds work. And I say Tom Riddle specifically and not Voldemort, because they are kind of 2 different entities in and of themselves. Like, say Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, while they're one and the same, they're also very different. And so the Darkling is Tom Riddle, where he has a sense of what is right and what is wrong, but it is very skewed to always fit his own personal desires and needs, and his need for power, which of course we all know that famous line by the Dark Lord that says, "There is no good and evil, there is only power, and those too weak to seek it." And that is a very, that like, the Darkling would live by that motto. He does live by that motto, and it's fascinating to see that idea and see that the Darkling fully accepts who he is and all his power and all his glory, but he has gone too far with that acceptance. So we see Elena and the dangers of not accepting who you are, but we also see in the Darkling how far, when you accept yourself, how corrupt you can become and how you can spin things to fulfill your own selfish desires. That was one thing I thought was fantastic about this. I really do love how Bardugo creates gray characters. I believe in grayness. I don't think everything is black and white, just various shades of gray. So I loved to see the characters, although of course some were worse than the others. They all were on a gray spectrum, so to say. And I thought that was a fantastic thing to do. It's very realistic in the sense because humans in themselves are on a gray scale. Another thing that I really, really did like was the opposition between Elena and the Darkling, how we're supposed to see one versus the other, opposites and equals, one and the same, yet completely different. Very confusing concept to just say, but I'm sure that you all understand what I'm going for. That these two characters are yin and yang. They are both completely opposite, but also part of the same. Each has a part of the other. And I thought that was a fascinating concept to be introduced to in this first book. We see hints of it and where this is going and where it might lead to. And I thought that was a great thing because they both came off to me as ethereal creatures. They're not really human. While you see the humanity in Elena here in the first book, you also see the inhumanity in the ethereal being. They kind of reminded me of dragons, how dragons are apart from the regular world. They are great things, and when you see them, you're just in awe. And that's kind of how I felt here, and it was really, I guess, interesting, I would say, to see a character that in one sense I thought of as this ethereal being, but at the same time I saw all her emotions and how she struggled with things and her feelings and that sort of stuff. So it was like two fueling things that seemed completely opposite and them coming together fully. So I really, really did enjoy Shadow and Bone. I think it's worth picking up. I do think it is a very good read, and I think Leigh Bardugo is a very wondrous writer, and I'm excited to read her other series. So comment down below and let me know if you have read this book, if you also saw some of the things I did. I'm sure that you probably did, as this isn't such a hidden theme in the work, but I just love that and I love exploring it. So did you like it? Did you think it was kind of annoying? Did you see problems in Elena's character? Did you love the Darkling? And what did you feel? Did you not care about them at all and care about other characters? Comment down below and let me know. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click the subscribe button down below and ring the little bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. And that is it. So, goodbye, Internet.